Within the territory of the Royal Crimson Pack, I am forced to engage in a power struggle. As the head wolf, has challenged me for the position of Luna in the pack. In this contest, I have to fight not only with my wisdom and strength but also face the inscrutable gaze of Theo, who seems to be testing me. I must prove that I am more than just a rogue. I have the ability to lead this pack. Chapter 7. The moon goddess gifted me with exceptional agility. I've always been told that I had great hand-eye coordination and reaction time despite my lack of strength. What I didn't know was that I was also gifted such an immense energy that it gave me the ability to annoy people wherever I go without me even doing anything. Awesome. Am I right? I returned to reality and was met by Talia's ferocious expression. Damn. Someone's mad. Get up, she commands firmly. Her gaze was icy and piercing. Okay. Confused, I slowly lift myself up from the chair, meeting the eyes of hundreds of wolves. What did I do wrong? Oh yeah, I existed. Now come closer, she orders with disgust. Her treatment was confusing the shit out of me. What was wrong with her? My gaze shifts to Giovanni and Scarlet, who sported a smug look on their faces, then to Emilio, who had his usual idiotic smile. Beta Felix remains impassive and I try to take no notice of Theo's impenetrable stare boring into me. No, I tell her sternly. Barely one day in this pack and I already had hundreds of wolves testing my temper. Talia growls. You heard me. To my agent extraordinaire, Logan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing cliche enthusiasm. Now move your tiny little legs and kneel before me. I hear a mother that sat next to me gasp and hug her child closer, giving Talia satisfaction. I scowl at the mother and the child without sympathy. They cower even further away from me, and I'd be lying if I said that didn't turn a smug look from me. The reason they had not recognized my title is because I had easily covered my scent. It was a task I did almost very single day. Why? Is your boyfriend's dick so tiny to the point you have to call my poor legs out? Grow up, she sneers. Yay. I fake a yawn. Is that what you told all your lovers, do? Given you have the right to remain silent. Use it before I lose my temper and tear you apart with my very own hands. I told myself to shut up, but I couldn't ignore the irritating expressions around me, increasing my vexation. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you already lost your temper a long time ago. A growl emitted from her chest. I don't think anyone has told you this. Yet, rogue, she informs me with a deadly glare. But this is the Royal Crimson Pack. Theo's pack. Theo's rules. You must follow our orders. I apologize. Madam. I bow dramatically. But are you so clueless that I must inform you that I don't follow rules? I'm a rogue. You said it yourself. You fool. I lift my chin up and meet her hostile orbs, keeping eye contact. These people were drop-dead gorgeous, but their personalities belong in a shithole. I don't think you fully know your position in here. Sweetheart, she says in a bitchy tone. Are you done practicing the lines for your stupid play or not? I snap. See, I'm getting really tired waiting for a scene where you finally shut up. This woman was beyond my realm of understanding. She was unreasonable, questionable, and half-witted as fuck. I assumed Theo's friends had something to do with her outburst. Still, whatever they mentioned to her was not a reason good enough to justify her imprudent behavior. She was only embarrassing herself. Talia raises her body off the chair, heading to my direction with elegance. Her enraged face, however, contrasted her facade of sophistication. I make sure not to break eye contact. Her furious eyes were locked on my equally irritated pair. Soon, her face was close to mine, looking down on my shorter stature. She seems to gain confidence from this when a smile enters her expression. For your information, she didn't faze me at all. To my agent extraordinaire, Logan, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing cliche enthusiasm. She is a mere warrior who used her authority wrongly. She lost her dignity and my non-existent respect for her the moment she acted rashly. I smirk in an attempt to increase her irritation. I didn't say a word as her eyes traveled to my clothes, Theo's clothes. Her furious eyes snap to mine, and she takes a step back as if I just burned her. I mean, I'm hot and all, but I didn't know I'm that age, take it off. She growls. I part my mouth and it curves into a lopsided smirk when realization dawns me. Jealousy swirls in her almond eyes, and I was beginning to think she despised me because I was Theo's mate. Or maybe she just wanted to be me so bad. Do you like me that much you want to see my bare body already? I hear Remedio's snicker emit from the silence of the room. He oddly clears his throat after he recognized the agitation that charged the room. This woman was mad. And I'm not just saying mad. She was hella mad. She was so furious to the point her small, sharp nose flared and her mouth constantly formed into a sneer, continuously emitting an ugly growl. It was kinda scary, I admit, but my eccentric sense of humor overcame my fear. Forcing a laugh from me, she charges towards me, grabbing me by the neck and pushing me against the wall with incredible strength. I choked out another chuckle even though I was starting to struggle with my breathing. I, Talia Robinson, head warrior of the Royal Crimson Pack, challenge you for the Luna position, she announces strongly. A collection of gasps and chatter erupts from the room. I look at Theo, staring into his amused grey eyes. The heartwarming smile he had given me earlier was gone. He tilts his head and sips a glass of wine, looking dead straight into my eyes. My anger increases. 1 second he acts like a normal mate, then another second he acts like a jerk. He was a puzzling man and it infuriated me. Keeping eye contact with Theo, I choke out, I, Alexandria Catalina, accept your challenge for the Luna position. She didn't loosen her grip on my neck and only smiles. Fine, you hot-headed bitch. I raise my hand and brush her hair softly before feeling for a specific pressure point on the back of her neck and striking it harder than I intended. The last thing I saw was her bewildered expression before she dropped to the floor. I crack my knuckles before raising my head. I notice a barely noticeable devious smirk on Theo's handsome face. Everyone in this pack was insane. This must be fate. No, because I was just as insane. Chapter 8. I was given 24 hours to prepare and currently have 18 hours left. It was currently 7 p.m. and I felt too awkward to eat my dinner with hundreds of tense and uneasy werewolves. They were uncomfortable with my presence and with the idea of me being Luna. I just know it. I also knew that they had a considerable amount of issues with rogues and I was itching to uncover their secrets. But right now, I didn't know what to do. I was both hungry and bored, a horrible combination. And lazy. I considered preparing for tomorrow's duel. But gravity pulled me down every time I tried to get up. It was as if the moon goddess set me up for defeat. I'm losing. Against her. Never in a million years. Currently, I was laying on a soft, expensive carpet. My body slumped against the footboard of my bed. I stare straight ahead and eye the wall. This was my plan for the next few hours until I finally fall asleep. My mind spiraled with many thoughts and ideas of things to do, but I was too lazy to execute them. Just when I thought the boredom was gonna kill me, something on the contrary finally happens. My door barges open, interrupting my boredom. At this point, I didn't care if it was an invading enemy or a robber. I just wanted something to happen, anything. Fortunately for me, the familiar scent of after rain and laugh and enters the room. I take in the captivating fragrance and give Theo a crooked smile as he stares down at me on the floor with a raised brow. His eyes linger on my slumped state for a moment before he releases a sigh and lowers himself to sit down in front of me. You must be starving, he orders, and sets a plate filled with food on my hands. I thank him and devour the meal gratefully. Oh my God, I love spaghetti, I say in between my eating. Don't talk until you've finished eating. I comply with a small nod. When I finished, Theo grabs the plate and sets it aside. Someone's obviously been preparing for her duel. He ridicules. Thanks for the motivational speech. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Anything for you. Shortcake. He winks. This man is bipolar. I huff and cross my arms. I'm not short. He hums and says, whatever floats your boat. Fuck you. Fuck you too. Fuck you more. He chuckles. Anytime. Shortcake. Via fan culo. Did you drive ACU? To my agent extraordinaire, Marion Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He growls slowly at me intentionally and I growl back, sticking my tongue out at him. He responds by flipping me off. I was about to throw a light punch, when suddenly, he pauses and his eyes turn brighter, signaling that a pack member was mind-linking him. I took this chance to study his chiseled jawline, perfectly carved-out nose, and blemish-free skin. His lips was a luscious shade of pink and his dark brows a perfect shape. And oh my favorite part, his beautiful eyes filled cunningness and a mischievous glint. He was pretty yet manly. How could anyone be so goddamn charming? His eyes return to its usual shade. I watch as his perfect lips curve into a smirk as he tells me, as much as I'd like to see you checking me out, I have to take my leave. Pack matters. I couldn't help but frown, disappointed that the duration of our talk was short. Stupid mate Bond, making me all emotional and shit. He makes his way to the door, before he reaches for the doorknob. However, I ask him a question. It was a question that bothered me for the longest time. A question that lingered in my brain the moment I met him and the moment I was currently in. It irked me and I couldn't resist but ask. Theo, you want to know something sketchy? Sure. It's the fact that you're not worried about the results of tomorrow's match. It's like you're not bothered by the idea that I might lose and possibly die against Talia. I plant my eyes on Theo, whose muscular back was turned to me. Why aren't you troubled like a normal mate would be? Why are you acting like a mate one moment and a stranger the next second? Who really are you? Silence slaps me in the face. After a few moments, he finally speaks, his back still facing me. Because I know you'll prevail. I'm not stupid, Alexandria. I'm somewhat aware of what kind of person you are, and I will know you completely soon enough. A person like you wouldn't be so composed unless you know the outcome. Clearly, you have a trick up your sleeve. I choose to not say anything, not shocked at all that he unraveled a piece of me. He was the lichen. To my agent extraordinaire, Marion Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And he lived up to my expectations. It only made things rather interesting. Theo twists the doorknob and pushes the door open. However, his feet remain planted on the floor inside my room. He turns his body so I could see his face filled with undeniable roguishness. It was an expression that was haunting, yet bewitching. His lips curl into his signature devious smile. Both you and I know that we're playing a game of secrets. The only time we can be normal mates is if one of us drops the act and I will wait patiently for that day. But I assure you, my dear Alexandria, that I win this game. I didn't try to deny it to an extent. I was no liar. I was fully aware of his ability, and that was something anyone, even I, could not rival. With a poised look, Theo takes a step out of the room. Good night, my little mischief. He concludes. Good night, Theo. He finally takes his leave. Chapter 9. I had woken up about half an hour ago when I had come down to eat breakfast with the others. However, Theo and the higher-ranked wolves could not be seen anywhere. Somewhere inside of me hoped that Talia had ditched the duel. My anger and drive from last night was long gone. I just wanted to do nothing. But if she chose proceed, then may all hell break loose. Upon my arrival, all the wolves had quickly gotten up and left, dumping their leftover breakfast. They told their friends about their newfound excitement on training purposely loud enough for me to hear. It was pretty clear to me that it was merely an act. Even if I had only stayed for 2 nights in this pack, I knew that training didn't until a quarter of an hour later. I knew that they felt restless and even some disgusted at my mere presence. It would be surprising if someone actually cheered for my victory. I'll cheer for myself if I have to. I try to not let them get to me by focusing on my growing hunger instead. I look around the room, only to realize that there was no extra meals. I didn't want to disturb the kitchen servants just to cook for me. I grab an apple, considering it was the only thing I could find since I was too lazy to make a sandwich. I was about to leave the kitchen, when a craving pops in my mind. Looking down the apple for the longest time, I tried to resist this craving. To healthy, I walked back to the pantry and grabbed a can of Pepsi. Then there was footsteps. Boisterous, loud footsteps. A hunk of flesh with long curly hair enters the room. Everyone in this pic must be really mad. Everyone seems to wake up on the wrong side of bed every morning. It was Beta Felix. His gaze fixated on me before he stomps to the pantry a few feet away from me. Soda in one hand and an apple on my other hand. I gape at him slamming the cabinets as he grabbed a peanut butter container, and bread made it feel too awkward to make any movement. My feet remained planted on the ground. I took a risky move into the apple, making a small crunch. Beta Felix's eyes snapped to mine for a fraction of a second before returning to his task. At the corner of my eye, I grew wary as he grabs a table knife, roughly plunges it into the peanut butter container, and spreads it on the bread. His brows were furrowed as he repeated this process. He huffs as he hurls the knife into the sink, not bothering to wash it. Then, his head snaps to me. What did I do now? On his face was the same enraged expression he wore the second he entered the kitchen in Even. From yesterday's lunch. Jeez, this guy was a rock. I was about to take a bite of my apple when he takes a step towards Ms., grabs the fruit, and flings it into a trash bin. I stare at him, my jaw on the floor due to this act of monstrosity. The beta grabs my hand, twists so that my palms were facing up, and places a peanut butter sandwich on my hand. Without saying a word, he stomps out of the room while munching on another sandwich. This pack must be really insane. I take a bite of the sandwich, thankful that its taste was not like its hideous outer appearance. I make a mental note to thank him one day as I munched away. I spend the last 15 minutes stretching and warming up for the upcoming face-off. When I had finished, I picked someone's lock and stole a black oversized shirt and black sweatpants to wear under my cloak. No way in hell was I fighting without it. Taking one last look at a mirror, glad that I looked like a grim reaper, I make my way to the training grounds, where I was told the fight was taking place in. When I had arrived there, the area was surrounded by hundreds of werewolves who were anticipating for my defeat, maybe even death. Their attention immediately focused on me when I made my presence known. Conversations ceased at presentation of my wonderful and jaw-dropping presence. I marched to where angry Talia was. "Mommy, I'm scared. She looks like those bad guys from Harry Potter," a little girl says as she tugged on her mother's dress. Her mother hushed her. The crowd exploded into whispers once again as I got closer to Talia, who looked more irritated every sec, and I closed the distance between us. Dressed like a grim reaper, she tells me in an irritated tone, "No wonder you were late. How was the Halloween party?" I wasn't gonna deny it. Talia was a beautiful woman, but the ugly sneer she frequently wore nulled out that trait. "It was great," I mutter. "I admit, however, that your costume outshined mine. Who did you come as?" "The Hulk." Talia ended the conversation with a growl, which resulted in a smug smile on my face. We didn't dare speak to each other in the next few minutes, itching to get this over with. I watched as the wolves regarded me, inspecting my worth. I made sure to catch their eyes and give them a menacing growl in return. Immediately, they diverted their attention and pretended to be infatuated with one another. To my fortune, the conversation soon ended when my mate's alluring scent reaches me. He refused to spare anyone a glance as he hops up slab and sits on a stone-like chair. The wolf didn't speak and only bowed slightly to Theo, who wore an indifferent expression in his face. His grey eyes were cold and deprived of any signs of emotion. Following him right after was his beta, gamma, and gamma female. Both his deltas were nowhere to be found. Pussies. Theo didn't waste any time, merely opening his mouth to release a stern, "You may comment." There was no other word spoken and no long speeches, as if fights like this have occurred too many times to be counted. Or maybe they just wanted to cut to the chase, eager to see the outcome of this battle. I take a quick glance on his steely grey eyes, as if noticing me shooting lasers with my eyes. He finally acknowledges my existence. The last thing I saw before concentrating back to the fight was the amused twinkle in his eyes. Talia lunges at me right away, a move that was usually risky. Clearly, she thought I was weak and could easily defeat me. I take a step on my right on reflex and unleash the dagger I was allowed to wield. Talia didn't bring any weapons, relying only on her claws and her werewolf form. What's up with these werewolves and being one with their wolves? She was playing the offensive side, knowing based on our last meeting that I would crumble under one touch. One mistake and I would be dead meat. It was a truth I cannot deny. I was forced to play the defensive side just like I had planned. Then, I would tire her out so I could utilize my final move, a weapon that I've been waiting to set free. My plan was simple, yet it was one that lacked decency. Wolves took pride in their combative strategies. Running, dodging, and play defense for most of the match was definitely not one that was prideful. But when you want to win, you've got to do everything to win. I wasn't one to throw my sword away so that my enemy and I could fight equally. It always confused me why movie characters make a whole ass speech before killing off someone. Talia charges towards me and swings her fist, targeting my nose and likely hoping that she would successfully hit me, which would cause temporary vision loss. To her dismay, I easily took a step back, her punch barely missing my nose by a few inches. We continued the same process, me dodging and her targeting my face, attempting to land a hit on my jaw and nose. I notice her quickly shifting her weight, striving to hit me with a roundhouse kick. I duck and swiftly dive, slashing her leg with my dagger. She growls in frustration. She recovers quicker than I imagined as she succeeded in landing a hard punch to my shoulder. I winced slightly, the impact throwing me off by a little bit. I too recovered quickly and avoided another punch coming my way. This time, Talia fakes a move, the sight of her right fist yielding back and her left fist aiming for stomach with undeniably incredible speed was too easy for me to not miss. I yank her arm and propel away from her. I could see the aggravation on her face. Her last bits of patience were trickling away by the second. Her strikes became more predictable to predictable. What is this? A game of infected? A round of tag? I didn't dare waste my breath and only release a chuckle. Talia swings her arm to strike my kidneys, a move that was again too obvious. I swerve and evade it too easily. Her moves were becoming riskier and more obvious. She was set on ending the match as quickly as possible. I, however, had different plans. She charges towards me in order to close our distance, taking the close range as an advantage. She attempts to throw a punch and an uppercut. Again, it was too predictable. I speedily lean away. For a long time, she continues to waste her energy by throwing useless punches and pointless kicks. I could tell that she was getting more and more agitated. However, this drill was soon discontinued when Talia leaps towards me and shifts mid-air. Her wolf form too quick to avoid in human form and too heavy for my weak self to sustain. I noticed the air around me as it stilled. Spectators held their breaths and unintentionally leaned forward, waiting for me to shift. They were anxious as they waited every passing second that I did not shift into wolf form. The thing is, I couldn't, not on my own will. At least, Talia realizes this, and the bright yellow eyes of her grey, almost white wolf snap at me with a satisfied gleam. She pawed at me and scratched me repeatedly with her claws. Welp, this was definitely gonna leave a mark. She managed to inflict a damage on my jaw, causing blood to drip from my jaw to my neck. I groaned. There was a harmonious intake of breath among the audience. With my last bits of strength, I grasped her paw, struggling to push her wolf away from me. I managed to keep her away from me, but only a moment now, and she would ultimately be released from my hold. Come on, come on, come on. Make me mad. You goddamn fool. Talia unbinds herself from my control and bites into my neck. I was able to make ends meet by ramming my knee on her wolf before she could fully injure me. I needed something to make me angry to the point my wolf would show itself. For a quick second, I glanced at Giovanni, knowing that his smug expression would make me furious. And it did. The satisfied, ugly smirk on what could have been a handsome face made me enraged. He notices my stare and his smirk only widens. Even better, if he only knew that he had caused my victory. My heart thrums with vigor and my stomach churns with anticipation. I was blazing, my temper increasing uncontrollably. I was about to go apesht any second now. I felt the familiar feeling of my skin morphing and my bones cracking painlessly. I also perceived the feeling I knew too well of me losing control. I shift quickly into my wolf form, void of any pain. My wolf, who looked fairly normal with her light brown fur, except for the permanent gruesome scar that went across her side, pounced on Talia. Talia was powerless against my wolf's strength and weight, who growled dangerously at her. My wolf clawed and bit at her body, leaving her unsightly scars that healed too slow for a normal wolf. She repeated this until Talia's whimpers faded and only the sharp intake of breaths and gasps were heard. The air around me a disturbing silence. Talia irritated the both of us and she would do anything to dispose of this threat. Stop. I hear Celestina command. My wolf's blood-red eyes look up to Theo, who sported a cold facade, yet I didn't miss the devilish twinkle in his eyes. My wolf strikes at Talia's wolf one last time, making sure to leave an ugly scar that would forever remind her of us for the rest of her life. It was a threat. She was warning everyone. Chapter 10. To my agent extraordinaire, Luna, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Deafening music blasts throughout the house. Drunk, sweaty dancing werewolves and the simple presence of people was revolting to me. I thought of just leaving the party and take my rest instead, but the ear-splitting music and drunk chatter made it impossible. It was starting to give me a headache and all I wanted to do was leave. I grit my teeth as I watched people dance and sway to the music without a single fuck in the world. Suddenly, the music halts. I sigh out, relieved that my ears could finally take a break. It was starting to give me a migraine. Like a switch, people transformed quickly from their woozy state to one that replicated a focused pack member. They all look up at where Theo and the others stood, with his shoulders rolled back and his chest up. His eyes travel over the waves of people until they landed on me. Damn, his eyesight must be wonderful. He opens his mouth to speak. As all of you know, hours prior, my head warrior, Talia challenged Alexandria to a duel for the Luna position. The dispute ended in Alexandria's favor. Talia will, however, remain head warrior unless anyone objects. In addition, I formally announce Alexandria a pack member of the Royal Crimson Pack. He declares and tilts the glass of wine so that it gave him a taste of its own bitterness. The room immediately broke out in whispers, dying to release their thoughts and feelings. Seriously, do they not see that I'm right next to them? Theo waits for the talking to stop before speaking once again. Noticing his patient and stony expression, the whispers quickly ceased. Theo raises the glass of wine up in the air in triumph. To my mate and future Luna, there was a series of whack-ass woos and applauds as they accepted me, some approving and others disapproving the alpha's decision. A smile tugs on Theo's lip as he raised the glass to his lip once again and takes a sip, his eyes still trained on me. I scoff in disbelief. Sooner than later, Theo and the others leave the stage. Emilios releases a wild hurrah as he departs and enters the crowd like a drunkard. Without further ado, the music and the dancing begin. Clearly, this wasn't a celebration party for me. It was a party at a club for a bunch of wild as careless teenagers. I huff and cross my arms, glaring at wolves who weren't even looking at me. Deciding that I should just leave, I make my way out of the room and to the terrace I saw previously. Finally, I whisper, releasing a sigh. I sit on a chair and enjoy the calming air despite the blasting music in the background. As I take a deep breath in, I close my eyes and relax. Tranquility was a gift I wish I was given. The running and troublemaking made me appreciate the art of peace. No matter who needs a break every once in a while. It allows us to think and reflect on ourselves. I lean into the chair, the relaxation making me feel sleepy. Just for a few minutes. I promise myself. Then, I fall into deep slumber. I wake up to the delicious smell of cinnamonness. I moan before I could process it, already tasting the sweetness in my mouth. I sniff the air and also recognize the familiar scent of lavender and afterrain. I open my eyes unwillingly and look up to Theo popping in a chunk of cinnamon roll into his mouth. I want some too. Awake now? He asks in an amusing tone. Yes, I answer groggily and sit up, stretching my arms as well. He pushes a tray of cinnamon rolls to me and adds, I see you enjoyed the party. Clearly, I say bitterly. I groan as I recall the celebration. So many horny and loud teenagers. Can't do anything about that. If Emilio S is there, it's first there's gonna be hungover werewolves the next day. He stabs a cinnamon roll and pops it in his mouth, feeling hungrier and hungrier as I watch him keep on eating. I grab a fork. I unroll the cinnamon roll, cut it in pieces, and devour it. Theo gasps in faint disbelief. I narrow my eyes at him in confusion. What? Who does that? Does what? He points at my cinnamon roll and I glare at him. Well, me, weirdo. Did he just call a weirdo? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. Slightly offended. You heard what I said. With my mouth parted. You just lack creativity. At least I'm one of a kind. He rolls his eyes. I scoff. You want to know what you lack? He questions me. What? I ask him, my mouth full. His smile widens like he's about to say the most idiotic shit ever. Meanwhile, you're so charming. I totally fell for that. I say sarcastically as I eat another cinnamon roll. You know I only speak of the truth. It was my turn now to roll my eyes. Get over yourself. Theo, I will if you tell me a secret. He compromises. Hell no. I look at him and smile. Never. Well, we'll be seeing about that soon. Now, won't we? He replies. Before I could say anything, he unexpectedly stands up and leans into me. My breathing hitches upon seeing his face so close to mine. I tried not to fall in love with his grey eyes, but I was pretty sure I already did. It looked so much more beautiful closer. I wonder what he thought about my eyes. Muddy. I almost snorted. His brows furrow and his eyes narrow in concentration as he stares at my face without meeting my eyes. I keep looking at him, perplexed by his actions. Before I knew it, I feel his touch on my skin. I gasp ever so slightly as pleasurable sparks dance on my skin. I shiver in delight and release a breath I didn't know I had kept in. Theo, on the other hand, remains impassive. He frowns and tucks in a tendril of my hair that had loosened itself from my hair bun. Then, he moves away and sits back on his chair, a satisfied expression on his face. Your hair is annoying. Shave it off. He suggests like it's the easiest decision ever. I swear this guy somehow finds a way to offend me every single fucking time. Geez, I'm really appreciating the compliments. You're welcome. Beautiful. I almost let the nickname get to me, but decided to compose myself. But clearly my dumbass couldn't control herself long enough. I blame it on the lack of sleep. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. I try and frown at the same time, wanting the feeling of his touch and the warmth it gave. The nerdy part of me, however, was curious about the sparks. It was magic. Then we're something warmer, he says bluntly. Well, thanks, Captain Obvious. I slide my hands together repeatedly and attempt to warm them up. Look, Theo, feel my hands. They're so cold. No, they weren't. Theo raises a brow and a lopsided smile appears on his face. You really think I'm gonna fall for that? I retract my hand and sulk yes. Shortcake, the only thing I'd fall for is you. He tells me with a wink. And the only thing I'd fall for is money. I add, you should have stopped jinxing yourself. Because the future is on my side. I stop when a woman's voice disrupts me. I would have gotten pissed off but the voice was soft and delicate like an angel. It left me in awe. "Hello, Theo." Theo and I immediately look at the speaker. The raven-haired woman's skin looked beautiful as the moonlight shone on her. Almond eyes and dark, long lashes framed her gorgeous light green eyes. She looked so innocent and so fragile, even I fell for half a second. Theo's eyes soften and turn more affectionate upon seeing her. I couldn't help but feel puzzled and hurt. I hold back the bite that rose in the very back of my throat. Who is she? The mate bond sent a small pain to my heart as my brain went haywire. I do what I do best and ignore it. If I only knew what destruction the future had set up for me. Chapter 11. I was confused. The mate bond was demanding that I find out this girl Theo, turned soft for's identity right away. The crazy wolf in me was getting on edge. I wanted to ask so badly, but I refused to look like some jealous idiot. Maybe I am that jealous idiot. I clench and unclench my fists. I was definitely not liking having my feelings be in such a state of disorder. He approaches her, a delicate expression on his face, and places a soft kiss on the top of her head. Aye, is this what you call third wheeling? I grit my teeth, losing patience and angered at the fact Theo was acting so lovingly to a girl that wasn't me. Calm down, you idiot. It could be a sister or a close friend or a cousin. Jealousy doesn't look good on you. I inhale and release a shaky breath. As if on cue, Theo and the stranger finally notices me. Took you long enough. I beam at them with my signature fake smile. None of them smiles back and Theo raises a brow. Skeptical. The woman, who I admit is indeed attractive, opens her mouth to ask, who is she? I grin, finding her voice cute even though she was probably the same age as me. Theo sends her a heartwarming smile and proudly states, my mate. His smile seems so genuine, so valuable, and so delicate. I haven't seen that smile yet. And now that I've seen it, I wished I could take a picture and never forget that smile. I snapped out of my trance, only to be met by the unfamiliar woman's hand reaching for Theo's hand. Even though she hasn't done anything to me, I withstand the urge to smack her hands off of him. Cute voice. My ass. I take back what I said. Yes, Kara, he says with such a soft voice, just like he was talking to something so soft and fragile. He didn't even let me hold his hands. This perspective of him was unrecognizable and so unlike his mischievous personality. It was like watching a dispassionate father falling in love with a puppy. Only this time, it was Theo turning into some affectionate man at the sight of this woman named Kara. I keep my mouth shut to hold myself back from saying something stupid. I'm tired. Let's go, she says abruptly and pulls him away. Theo doesn't even spare any energy to resist and only gives me one last look before leaving with her. I stiffen, a feeling of betrayal in the very depths of my heart. I asked for trouble and now I was getting it. The reckless side of me was overlooking the danger I put myself into. But the one thing I didn't dare miss and will never forget is the vile sneer Kara sent my way as she looked back at me. I tilt my head side to side, my thoughts suddenly thrown in a pile of mess. I might be putting myself in a hazardous situation, but what they didn't know was that I was the real danger. Oh boy, this pack was definitely anything but peaceful. After I had went back to my room and slept the extra hours before breakfast, I wake up the same morning to the comfort of my bed. The bed was something I really appreciated the day I came to this pack. It made me wonder how I ever had the audacity to sleep on dirt and rocks. Every time I had waken up in the morning, my back felt impaired. Hopping off the bed, I dress into new clothes that I stole again and wear my little cloak over it like usual. Today, I gained the courage to eat with my now pack members. Maybe this time, they'd look at me at a new light and not stray away from me. If not, then they're the ones missing. Who wouldn't want this out of this world beauty? I roam the huge mansion and finally find my way to the dining hall. And from the looks of it, my entrance was long overdue. I mean, what's different? Hundreds of heads snapped to me as if I had disturbed their peaceful meals. Darn, what happened to a new light? I clear my throat and avoid meeting anyone's eyes as I walk to an empty seat. The room returns to light chattering and a servant simultaneously places a plate of delicious food in front of me. Thank you, I mutter, You're welcome, miss, the lady replies before walking away. She sported a surprised expression before a genuine smile reaches her face. I stuffed down the food down my throat gratefully. When I finished, I tapped my mouth with a tissue before looking up to a pair of laser beam eyes that had been boring holes on the back of my head since I entered the room. It was a miracle I was able to ignore it. I meet Beta Felix's furious gaze. I narrow my eyes at him and mouthed, "Bitch, what are looking at?" My gaze travels to the seat beside him, which was an unoccupied seat. I grin at the thought of not having to suffer under Talia's presence. My wolf made sure she couldn't get up comfortably until the next week or two. Even her wolf can't heal her any faster than that. Then, at the side of my eye, I see Theo push his plate to Kara, willing her to eat. She sat next to him, on the Luna seat. Wait, let me restate that. On my seat. Theo, you jerk. I growl as quietly as I possibly could, but apparently, my effort went to the trash when the family next to me tensed and shakily took another bite of their pancake. Felix didn't miss my irritation and grabs the plate from Kara. Taking a bite of his own, Theo turns his head to his friend, bewildered, after seeing Felix chomping down the meal like a wild animal. However, Theo's expression turns more fondly. "Thank you," I mouth once again to Felix, slightly surprised by his actions. Seems like I've made my first friend, despite his uncanny behavior. At this point, I'd be okay with transforming into some Cinderella and start talking to birds. Theo and the others were the first to leave. Beta Felix and Gamma Celestina. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Stayed behind. I ignored the slight ache in my heart, knowing that Theo didn't even look at me once. Soon, more and more people gradually scattered out of the dining room. I decided to leave last, not knowing where else to go afterwards. No one mentioned if I should be training with the others, and I happily took the chance of not having to attend it. I was about to leave when I sensed the two present individuals who refused to leave. I paused, feeling two pairs of eyes shooting daggers on the back of my head. I brushed it off aside and took a step to make my way out of the room. The atmosphere was becoming more tense and I was not way in hell staying here. "Wait." Celestina's voice calls out to me, followed by heavy footsteps as both Felix and her found their way towards me. I ignore them and continue to walk out, not exactly feeling like talking. I hear her soft voice squeak out. I stop on my tracks once again. Bewildered, I turn to look at her sympathetic expression. She bows her head and lifts her chin up. "I apologize for offending you on our first meeting, for calling you weak. You are quite the opposite. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Looking down on you for your rogue status is something I won't apologize for. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I nod and accept her apology quickly, a realization settling in my mind. I took this chance to find out more about Theo, curiosity getting the best of me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. At some point I felt like I was overdoing it. I was nodding my head furiously and excitedly said. Then, more calmly, "Why do you hate rogues so much?" "Anyways," Celestina speaks, but Felix places a hand on her shoulder to refrain her from speaking. A ice scowl reaches my face and disappeared in less than a second. "We have history. Bad history. It's not my story to tell." I nod, not wanting to appear more overbearing than I already was. "Well, I have training to do." Celestina clasps her hands together and gives me a small, uncertain smile. "We will take our leave. Acquaintances." "Acquaintances." I agree. Celestina drags Felix out of the room, but suddenly he stops on his tracks. He reluctantly turns to me, his eyes soften, as if a heartwarming memory entered his mind. Then, he hesitantly tells me, "Mates are valuable. Please don't break each other's hearts." Assumptions barge into my brain when I hear the crack of his voice and the sincerity in his tone. My smile brightens, feeling reassured that such an unemotional man have told me such a passionate advice. Words coming out of his mouth somehow felt more meaningful. Felix stares at Celestina's remorseful eyes, willing her to say something. When she remained still, he flicked her forehead. His visage returns to a stony expression. I almost let out a giggle. Oh, she says, snapping out of a trance. She then walks towards me with a smile and whispers into my ear. I shiver as she tucked in a stray hair behind my ear. I think you'd want to know this. What? Carmilla. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Is Theo's sister? Was I too obvious? Flustered, I look down and utter a small. And with that, they finally take their leave. With the weight on my shoulders lifted, I make a risky decision to take a stroll around the pack grounds. I needed time to think. I had mixed feelings. I was glad, yet curious. What was the reason behind the pack's strong hatred for rogues? And why did Celestine look at Felix with such misery? Time will always somehow manage to reveal these secrets. Chapter 12. I sit down and observe the clear waters plunge into a pool below it. Then, I close my eyes and listen to the water cascading down the rocky surface. Silence. It was the source of my strength. The one thing I loved being a rogue was the ability it gave me to appreciate nature's beauty. Nature is a pleasure in everyone's life that many fail to enjoy. I stare at my face as I look down on the waters, my reflection showing. And it was my light brown hair that went down to my waistline in a tangled mess. Thuck, I blurt out, realizing I forgot to bring or steal hair tie. Whatever floats your boat. I breath out a sigh of disappointment. My hair right now is so not a move. Once again, I look at my reflection, resisting the urge to pull out a stupid peace sign. I groan, bored out of my mind. I really wished I could shift on command. I wanted to run and talk to my wolf like other wolves could. The only way I could shift to my wolf form, who is quite uncontrollable. If I may, it is by getting really enraged. And I was more happy to have Giovanni as my tool for that. Without warning, someone tugged on my mind, requesting permission to mind link. Since I was a pack member, Theo and the others could easily mind link me. However, only they could request and start to mind link. I let the unidentified person break into my mind. Emergency pack meeting. Money lover. I hear Emilia's voice call out. I cut off the mind link and run back to the pack house. I barged the doors open and instantaneously. Heads turned to me. I had gotten lost, not knowing where the meeting was held, and I was deprived to ask help from anyone. On instinct, I pull on my hood and led myself to an empty seat. Late again. Catalina. Scarlett's voice booms across the room. I grin. It's the only thing I'm good at it. She rolls her eyes and transfers her gaze to Theo, who sported the most devilish lopsided smile on his face. Oh my, what a handsome devil he truly is. His head snaps to me. He tilts his head and stares at me with eyes filled with so much anticipation. It was as if it was directed to me. It almost felt like he was about to pull a prank that I didn't know about. I gulped visibly, a little frightened. Something happened, and it obviously included me. One of the million things I hate is not knowing or not having an idea of what's about to happen. Why can't I have the superpower to see the future or read people's minds? I break eye contact with Theo and look down, fidgeting on the hem of my cloak. My heart hammered in my chest, and I release a deep breath out in an attempt to calm down the beating. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I barely notice. Was in complete silence. Other than me, everyone was looking directly at Theo, waiting for his command. Come on, dude. Say something. Let's get over this fast. You're making me more nervous than I should be. Everyone waits, their backs straight, and their lips unmoving. It was completely soundless. Their faces and bodies were still as stone. I resist the urge to cough when something tickled the back of my throat. Finally, After a painstaking minute, Theo begins to speak, his husky voice echoing from the soundless walls of the room. Everyone, relax. Immediately, there was a harmonious sound of exhales. Theo continues to speak. Today, two interesting events occurred. The first occurrence was that a rogue pack had invaded our territory for the first time since 5 years ago. At about 2 p.m., exactly 4 hours ago. For your information, there was an attack west of our borders. The disturbance was instigated by 3 rogues, 2 adult men and a woman. They are currently in the cellars and will be punished as I wish. The other interesting thing that took place, however, actually concerns a pack member. Theo pauses. Footsteps reached my ears from across the room, implying that Theo has left his place and had begun walking around the vast room. I remain looking down, braiding and unbraiding the ends of my hair. I hated pack meetings. I hated them back when I had a pack. I hated them when anyone talked about them. And I hate them now that I got into a new pack. They were usually boring and tedious. And for the first time, I was wishing that it was not nerve-wracking. I had a gut feeling that what he was about to say concerned me. And it wasn't good. As most of you know, if not all, my father as a youngling established law prohibiting harmful research on wolves. These were experiments that were performed for a reason we don't know yet. No pack or rogue dared to rebel, and so they abided by his rules. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. 6 years ago, we had come across that a rogue pack had broken this rule. These very same rogues, Theo continues, his footsteps were slow and steady, left me a very, very special message today. I clear my throat awkwardly. The atmosphere was now tense and comfortable. Please don't let it be about me. Please don't let it be about me. I proceed with listening to his footsteps when suddenly, the sound faltered. I whipped my head around to search for him. When I looked up, I see Theo's mischievous grey eyes looking into mine. Shit. I whip my head back around and start fidgeting on the hem of my cloak once again, waiting for Theo to move to another person. He never did. His voice was loud enough that he was right behind me, still as a stone. The message was clear and to the point. Bring our test subject. He says, using his fingers to represent quotation marks. And no harm will be done. Chatter erupted throughout the vast space. Now, fighting this rogue group will not be a big deal. Rest assured. We've had even worse fights. He places a hand on my shoulder. I nod my head along with the others. Feeling fitly, Theo leans down to meet my stature. I shiver as I felt his warm breath on my neck. His lips move just by my ear, making a shiver travel down my spine once again. The question is, he questions with his deep, smooth voice, why do they want this person so bad they dare set their own paws on my territory? And who among us do they want? People broke into chatters, unable to contain themselves. I release a nervous laugh and try to mute them by coughing, only to choke on air. Great going. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My heart beats erratically, unable to slow down its own beating. I groan at myself mentally as I thought that Theo could probably tell how nervous I was right now. Still, I remain silent and bring a hand on the back of my neck, suddenly feeling the need to scratch it. In a flash, Theo's hand wraps around my wrist as softly as he could. I shrug off the sparks that erupted on the surface of my skin, the nervousness getting to me. I was glad that the people were so immersed in their conversations. They did not pay attention to Theo and I. Theo bites my ear playfully. I release a breath I didn't know I've been holding in this whole time. I look at him only to see a smirk on his face. I win, he declares with twinkling eyes. Fucking hell. Chapter 13. I say we hand her over to them. Giovanni's furious voice bugs across the room. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He just had to, didn't he? There was a series growls and snarls sent his way. The natural instinct to protect their future Luna was already kicking in. Anything harmful thrown my way, whether physically or mentally, will just continue to test the waters and anger them. Even so, there were those who remained unaffected or even agreed with Giovanni. They nodded simultaneously at his declaration. Theo doesn't say anything, but his forbidding gaze was enough for me to know that Giovanni was infuriating him. Clearly, someone hasn't learned their lesson. And why is that? Theo asks. Tight-lipped. Giovanni pauses, as if he was making sure that what he was about to say won't end up with him losing a limb or two. Theo raises a perfect brow when there was a lack of response and questions. Are you going to say something or not? Giovanni grips the arm of his chair as he reaches to a conclusion. His wary gaze wanders around the room as if he was searching for a confirmation to keep on going. Oh God, don't say it. Don't say it. He hasn't opened his mouth to speak, yet I knew that only unwise words will come out of his lips. Giovanni looks at Theo hesitantly, but quickly returns to his annoying, smug expression. I was quick to note the tremble on his lips as he begins to speak. I part my lips and form them into a devious smirk as I break through his facade. He was scared of Theo. And it was quite funny, because she'll bring danger to this pack, he says with a surprisingly confident tone. One death for the guaranteed lives of many. I hear a low growl rumble from behind me and also feel Theo's grip on my shoulder tighten. No one gathered up the courage to speak. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Or even agree with him. No one, and I mean no one, speaks of a mate's death right in front of them. It was an uncommon rule. The simple idea of dying angers them. I gaped at Giovanni. This guy must really hate me. Everyone painstakingly waits for Theo's response. As I expected of him, he stayed poised. If it was any other alpha, I would have anticipated chairs breaking and punches being thrown. An icy glare was the only thing that indicated Theo's temper slowly trickling away. A part of me wanted to see a fuming Theo, but I told myself I'd regret that. She will stay and everyone will give her the respect she deserves. My heart flutters at his statement. He eyes Giovanni. You will serve your Luna. You will protect her. You will support her unconditionally and will obey her commands without a say. You will respect her. Giovanni furrows his brows together, not willing to back down. Why should I do that? Theo forges a smile and says, Isn't obvious, G.I.O. He doesn't reply and presses his lips together in a straight line. Because I said so. Theo continues. The meeting finally brings itself to an end. I hop off the car as soon as we arrived at the Bloodhound pack house. I had to suffer about 2 hours third-wheeling Emilio and Scarlett. Stupid Theo and Kara. Privacy my ass. Feeling drained. Catalina. Scarlett calls out. Emilio's arm draped over her as he sports a smirk. I scrunch my nose at her and say, EW, do me a favor and don't call me that. Gladly. She drawls. Catalina. Well, fuck you too. I huff and start walking to the pack house, pleased that I actually had something different to do. I had also wonderfully invited myself along with Theo, Emilio, Scarlett, and Kara to a pack meeting with the Bloodhound's scary little piece of shits. We would stay for a few hours and make our way back to the pack right away. On the bad end. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Theo, like the fantastic loving mate he is, sent me along with Emilio and Scarlett. It was disgusting. They were fondling and groping each other the whole car ride while driving. The memory of it almost made me puke. I sigh and breathe in the fresh air, grateful that I could finally get a break from the couple. Pick up those legs and move. Catalina, Scarlett says with a mocking laugh. A smile reaches my face. It might not be noticeable, but her jokes felt more like it was coming out of a friend's mouth. Her laugh was no longer mocking but softer. Her eyes twinkled. As well, just like how older sisters would make fun of their younger siblings. Obviously, she was at the mean end of the spectrum. That doesn't change the fact that both of us still hate each other. But at least, we were able to tolerate each other for now. I follow her and Emilio. If I knew you were so obsessed with my legs, I might have even stolen a pair of shorts along the way. She scrunches her nose. No thank you. Stick to your sweatpants. Honey. A chuckle escapes my mouth. I continue to trail behind the couple as they hurriedly found their way to the meeting. The PDA led them to this tardiness since Theo and Carrot half an hour ago. The meeting was waiting only for their arrival, and werewolves were most likely becoming more irritated by the second. When they arrived at a double door, which I assumed led to the pack meeting, I bring myself down to the floor and sit cross. Seriously, where was the chairs? Scarlet enters the room and slams the door. I eye Emilio, who narrowed his eyes at me. What? Stay here and don't steal anything, he says before entering. I roll my eyes and scoff in response. Then, I close my eyes and listen to the sound of complete silence. Crossing my arms, I drum my fingers on my bicep. Soon, a treacherous quarter of an hour passed. Boredom was getting to me, and I was being too loyal for far too long. A smile tugs at the corner of my lip. What if I move a little? Just a little bit. Fuck it, I mutter as I lift myself up. I was about to ease my way out of this damned place when a moving stone crashes into me. What the fuck? I curse out, feeling myself drop to the floor. What a beautiful wide set of vocabulary I have. Sorry, a man's deep and strong voice says, but it's not my fault you were in my way. I scoff. What a fucking jerk. Get your eyes fixed. I hear a chuckle. I like it. I scoff once again, disbelieving. Stole a line from Wattpad. At least it works. I raise my hand, and when he didn't get the message, I voice out, bring me up, you idiot. I knew that. He mumbles and brings me up. Blue eyes meet mine, which widens upon seeing me. The young man cocks an eyebrow as he takes in my appearance. I've never seen a redhead before. I mutter under my breath. It's a pleasure I'm your first. Then, he tells me and winks. Quite unlucky, I'd say. I mumble. He only runs a hand through his fluffy hair and stares at me. Would you like a date? He asks as he pops one in his mouth. I prefer raisins. Just kidding. They're both disgusting. I lured an incentive then. He leans into me so he was closer. I take a step back almost instinctively. Would you like a date? I boff, earning a laugh from him. No way, I say shortly. You're technically a child. I'm 20. He exasperates. I scrunch my nose, pretending to look disgusted. No thank you, I tell him as I hold my palms before him. Come on, he pleads. You're Luna. I missed a meeting. We both don't have anything to do. Did I ask? He narrows his eyes at me and huff. No then, fuck off. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patient enthusiasm. I huff. Babe, this is what I call straightforward and direct. Now shoo. He crosses his arms and leans on a wall, a failed attempt to look like some cool bad boy. I don't think so. Then don't. Because I am. Say, he drawls. I'll ask someone to answer for you. One stands for yes. You're going with me. Two stands for no. You stick to your little corner and die by yourself like a loner. Fine. I grumble. I'll be leaving either way. As if on cue, the double doors burst open and waves of people exit. They give me weird looks as they pass by me, like I was an alien. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We all know my presence is just too alluring and my beauty is far too great for the human eye. I clasp my hands together as my eyes meet my handsome Theo, who was discussing with another alpha. Next to him was Kara, Scarlet, and Emilio. However, my smile drops as soon as I spot a redhead coming their way. Oh shit, I blurt out. The other alpha notices his arrival and sends him a glare. The redhead sends him a wide smile in return despite the alpha's obvious disappointment. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His alpha acknowledges him as he eyes him. Good afternoon. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The smile still on his face. Where were you? Skipping your responsibilities as future beta. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I met this girl. He blurts out as casually as someone ever could. My eyes widen and I cough out, choking on air. We barely even met, for God's sake. Suddenly, he turns to Theo curiously and asks, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. With a welcoming smile on his face, Theo replies, yes, may I ask you a question? Theo nods while the other alpha closes his eyes as if he was about to blow up any second. 1 or 2? Please answer. My future depends on your answer. He tells him and sends a wink my way. Oh no. I groan and resist the urge to slam my head on the wall. And who thinks while he looks at the guy named Mason? I'm about to be fucked up. I pick one. It's a pleasure to hear from you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Beaming at Theo, who just gives him an innocent, light-hearted smile. Thanks to you. I'll be having a date tonight. And who might this lucky lady be? Lucky? My ass. My heart thumps as I see Mason's head twist in my direction and his fingers point to me. Everyone listening to their conversation turned their heads to look at me. I hear a snort come out of Emilio and I smile awkwardly. I lift my eyes so it meets Theo's indifferent expression. I wave my fingers at him and he narrows his pretty grey orbs at me. He raises a skeptical brow and crosses his arms. He forges an evil smile and looks at Mason. What if she has a mate? Mason shakes his head so confidently I almost let out a laugh. No sir. She's unmarked. Theo nods his head calmly. Not all mates are marked. What if she does? His twinkling eyes snap to me before travelling back to Mason. You do know it's legal for a mate to fight for their soulmates. Am I right? Mace unpauses before nodding. Yes, sir. Theo smiles at him deviously and cracks his knuckles. Then I, Theo DeLuca, Alpha of the Royal Crimson Pack, challenge you. Mason's bright blue orbs widen. His head travels back and forth between Theo and I. Surprised at the situation. You guys are mates. He spits out. Theo nods his head and his smile widens. Oh shit. I'm out. Goodbye. He scrambles out and sends me a little wave when he meets me. I gulp when I feel 5 pairs of eyes drilling a hole into my back. We must take our leave. Alpha Blackwood, Theo says to the Alpha, who nods his head. His befuddled gaze wander to me. Theo walks towards me with a fake smile on his lips. Oh shit. Now you. Alexandria. My beloved. He grabs my hand and leads me out of the hallway. Sparks run throughout my body. Are taking the car ride back with me. Alone. I squeaked. The wolf half inside of me was enlightened at the idea. As a response, I see a genuine smile from on his face. Yes, Alex. Theo drones. This time, a genuine smile reaches his lips. Just me and you.